The engine roared, tires screeched, and Rocky lunged forward until the chain yanked his neck. His family's car disappeared down the road, and they never looked back. Dust clouded the driveway, stinging Rocky's eyes as he barked desperately, his paws scraping the gravel until they bled. He could still smell their scent, the faint perfume from the mother, the leather seats from the father's car, and the sugary candy the little girl always dropped under the kitchen table. That scent was fading now, swallowed by exhaust fumes. Rocky's chest heaved. He didn't understand why they left. All he knew was that the gate had closed, and beyond it was everything he ever loved. The neighbors watched. Curtains twitched. Some shook their heads in pity, others whispered with satisfaction. And at the center of it all, on her perfectly trimmed lawn, stood Karen, HOA president. Arms crossed, lips curled, eyes sharp as glass. She had won. Good riddance, she muttered, loud enough for the neighbors to hear. That beast was always a danger. Rocky's ears flicked back, tail stiffening. He didn't know her words, but he knew her tone poison. She had shouted it many times before. Dangerous, ugly, unfit for this neighborhood. He remembered the day she stood at the porch, jabbing her finger toward him while his family pleaded. The board doesn't allow dogs like this. Either the dog goes or you all do. And now, they were gone. The gate creaked shut. Rocky pressed his nose against the cold iron bars, whining, waiting, trembling. The house loomed behind him, silent, empty, the windows like hollow eyes. He didn't leave. He couldn't. His paws stayed planted, as though the concrete itself had trapped him. Hours passed. The sun bled into the horizon, painting the sky with streaks of fire. The streetlights flickered on. Still, Rocky waited. Every sound of an approaching car made his heart leap. Every shadow made his ears perk. But no one came. That night, the neighborhood was alive with murmurs. Karen's voice sliced through the darkness as she gathered her clique. The bank will foreclose soon. Once it's vacant, I'll handle it. No more barking, no more trouble. We'll clean this place up. Her friends laughed. Rocky growled low in his throat. He didn't know the word foreclose, but he knew the laughter was cruel. He curled up by the gate, the chill of the concrete seeping into his ribs. His belly growled, but he ignored it. Hunger was nothing compared to the ache in his chest. By morning, the humiliation deepened. Children rode bikes past the gate, pointing at him. "Look, the scary dog got dumped," one boy shouted. Another tossed a pebble. It hit Rocky's shoulder. He flinched, but didn't move away. His eyes stayed locked on the road, the path where his family had disappeared. Karen strolled by with her clipboard, smug. "See? Aggressive. He's snarling at kids already. Proof." But Rocky hadn't snarled. He hadn't moved. His only crime was loyalty. Days blurred into nights. Rain slicked his fur, sun baked his back, but Rocky's vigil never broke. The gate became his prison and his altar. Each passing car, each shifting shadow, he believed might bring them home. His ribs showed now, sharp under thinning skin. His once bright coat dulled with dust. But still he waited. And then came the breaking point. Karen returned one evening with a man in a suit, carrying papers. She gestured at the house, her painted nails slicing the air. "The owners are gone. I'll have the paperwork ready. We can fast-track the sale. I already have a buyer lined up." Rocky stiffened. The man glanced at him uneasily. "And the dog?" Karen sneered. "Oh, don't worry. I'll call animal control. He'll be gone by the weekend." Those words, though Rocky couldn't understand, carried a weight. The way she spat them, the way her eyes glimmered with cruelty, Rocky felt it in his bones. A threat, a plan, danger. His lips curled. A deep growl vibrated in his chest, rumbling like distant thunder. The man stepped back. "He looks protective." "Protective?" Karen scoffed. "He's a nuisance. Just wait. Once he's gone, this house is mine to deal with." That night, Rocky didn't sleep. He paced by the gate, his nails clicking against the concrete. The wind carried new scents, Karen's perfume lingering, the man's cologne, the ink of papers freshly signed. He didn't know what it meant, but his instinct screamed, they're coming back. Not his family, but enemies. Lightning cracked across the sky. Thunder rolled. Rain began to fall in sheets. Rocky stood tall despite the storm, water dripping from his muzzle, for plaster to his ribs. The gate rattled in the wind, but he didn't flinch. For the first time since being abandoned, Rocky wasn't just waiting. He was guarding. Somewhere deep in his chest, past the hunger, past the grief, past the ache of betrayal, a new fire stirred. Karen might have taken his family, but she would not take this gate. Not this house. Not the last piece of them he still had. And so the dog who had once been mocked, starved, and left behind became a sentinel. Alone, but unbroken. Humiliated, but unyielding. The neighbors whispered again, watching from their windows as the storm raged. Why doesn't he leave? Why doesn't he run away? But Rocky didn't leave because he couldn't. Love had chained him tighter than any collar. And in the shadows of that storm, as lightning illuminated Karen's smug smile in the distance, Rocky's eyes burned with a promise. The gate may never open for his family again, but it would never open for her either. The stone hit him before he even saw it coming. Rocky yelped, stumbling back from the gate, his ribs aching where the sharp edge struck. Laughter erupted from the children outside, their bicycles circling like vultures.
See?
He's still here. What a dumb dog, one jeered. Another shouted, scary mutt. Nobody wants you. Rocky pressed closer to the iron bars, not out of aggression but to protect what was behind him, the silent, empty house. His growl was low, steady, a warning carved from instinct. But the boys only laughed harder before pedaling away, their taunts echoing down the street. The hunger clawed at him more viciously now. His stomach growled so loud it startled even himself. Once, he had bowls of food filled with kibble, scraps from the table, the little girl's hand slipping him pieces of bread. Now, he licked raindrops from the gate, chewed on grass that barely dulled the ache, scavenged insects in the yard. His body thinned, but his resolve thickened. Karen saw him every day. She passed by with her clipboard, lips curled in triumph, jotting notes no one else could see. Neighbors whispered when she wasn't listening. She's going to take that house. What about the dog? Animal control, probably. One evening, Rocky caught her scent before he saw her. The sharp perfume, always mixed with the bitterness of coffee and cigarettes. He lifted his head. She was whispering to two men near the gate. One wore a city badge, the other carried a tranquilizer pole. This weekend, Karen hissed. I don't care what it costs. He's gone. I want him gone before I file the sale. Rocky's muscles tensed. He didn't understand words, but he understood tone, final, merciless. The kind of voice that ended things. His instincts screamed danger. That night, Rocky prowled the yard. He sniffed every inch, circled the perimeter, ears flicking at every rustle. His paws left muddy prints as he traced and retraced his route. He didn't sleep. He didn't blink. The house was his charge now, and the gate his battleground. The next morning, hunger nearly brought him to collapse. His legs trembled as he tried to stand guard, but his body screamed for rest. Still, he forced himself to the gate. And then salvation, but in disguise. A woman jogged past, slowing when she saw him. She paused, panting, staring at the ribs that showed like prison bars beneath his fur. Oh, you poor thing, she whispered. She reached into her pocket, pulling out half a granola bar. Rocky didn't move. He just watched her hand, eyes wary. Slowly, she slid it under the gate. Rocky sniffed. The sweet scent filled his nose. He gulped the bar in 2 bites. His tail thumped once against the ground. The woman smiled sadly. Someone abandoned you, huh?
Poor boy.
You deserve better. Karen's voice cracked the moment like a whip. Don't feed him, she shrieked from across the street, storming forward. He's dangerous. If you give him food, he'll never leave. The jogger frowned. He's starving. Look at him. Karen jabbed her finger like a dagger. He's a pit bull. You don't know what those things do. Do not feed him again, or I'll report you. The jogger hesitated, eyes flicking between Rocky and Karen. Then she turned and walked away, shame and fear pulling her faster until she was gone. Rocky stared after her, the taste of kindness fading too quickly from his tongue. His tail lowered again. Karen smirked.
See?
Nobody will help you. You'll be gone soon. The days after grew harsher. Rain turned to blazing sun. Rocky's fur grew duller, his steps slower. But he never abandoned the gate. His growl grew deeper when anyone came near, especially Karen. And then came the night that proved his worth. Thunder rattled the sky, heavy rain pounding the streets. Rocky's ears pricked when he caught an unfamiliar sound, footsteps on wet gravel. Too soft, too careful. He pressed against the gate, peering through sheets of rain. Two figures crept toward the house. One carried a crowbar, the other a flashlight. Their voices were hushed but urgent. Empty house. Easy job. Karen said nobody's here. What about the dog? It's starving. Won't last another week. Rocky's eyes flared. His growl rolled like thunder. The men froze. Then he lunged, hurling himself against the gate so hard it rattled. His bark exploded into the storm, sharp and relentless. Jesus. He's still alive? Forget it, man, let's go. The men fled into the rain, slipping, cursing, vanishing into the night. Neighbors flicked on their lights. Curtains opened. Karen rushed out with her umbrella, shouting over the storm. Quiet. Shut up, mutt. But the neighbors had seen enough. They whispered among themselves. The dogs scared them off. The dog protected the house. Rocky stood in the downpour, chest heaving, fur plastered to his ribs, eyes blazing with pride. For the first time since his family left, he wasn't just waiting. He was fighting. Karen's scowl deepened. She gripped her umbrella so hard her knuckles whitened. Fine, she hissed. If you want to fight, you'll get one. And as the storm raged on, Rocky knew the hunger, the loneliness, the cruelty. None of it mattered anymore. A greater battle was coming. Karen wouldn't stop. Neither would he. Because this gate, this house, this ground beneath his paws, it wasn't hers. It was his. The animal control van screeched to a halt, headlights flooding the gate where Rocky stood soaked in mud and rain. The door slammed open. A man in a uniform stepped out, gripping a pole with a snare at the end. Another followed, carrying a cage. Their boots splashed through puddles as Karen marched beside them, umbrella tilted high, lips twisted in triumph. There he is, she barked. Take him away. He's dangerous, he's trespassing, and he's scaring the whole neighborhood. Rocky stiffened, fur bristling, a growl rising from deep in his chest. His paws dug into the earth. He didn't understand uniforms or vans, but he understood intent, capture, removal, exile. He had already lost his family. He would not lose this place too. The first officer approached slowly, voice calm. Easy, boy, we don't want to hurt you. The snare pole slid through the bars. Rocky backed up a step, eyes locked on the loop of steel. Karen sneered. He'll bite. Just grab him. Rocky's heart hammered. His hunger had drained him for weeks, but the storm had ignited something raw inside. His body trembled, not from fear, from decision. The pole lunged forward. Rocky sprang. His jaws clamped down on the metal bar, teeth scraping sparks. The officer cursed, struggling to wrench it back, but Rocky held firm, snarling, eyes blazing with defiance. Neighbors gathered at windows, some stepping out onto porches. Whispers rose over the storm. He's protecting the house. Karen called them. Is he really dangerous, or is she? The second officer hesitated. Ma'am, he doesn't look aggressive. He's defending his territory. Don't be ridiculous. Karen snapped. He's a menace. Do your job. But then a voice cut through the rain. The jogger, the woman who had once slipped Rocky food, stepped forward from the crowd. She held an umbrella, her face determined. Stop, she shouted. That dog hasn't hurt anyone. He's been starving, abandoned, and still he waits. He scared off burglars last night. He's guarding this house better than any lock ever could. The officer paused. The neighbors murmured in agreement. Heads nodded. Eyes turned, not on Rocky, but on Karen. Karen's face reddened. "He's dangerous," I said. "He attacked the pole." "He attacked the pole you shoved at his face," the jogger shot back. Rocky still gripped the pole, growling, but his ears twitched at the woman's voice. Something familiar in her tone, not pity, but defense. He released the pole with a final snarl, backing to the gate. His chest heaved, eyes fixed on Karen. The officers looked at each other. Finally, one sighed. "We can't take him like this. We'll file a report and let animal control decide later." Karen exploded. "What?"
No.
"Take him now." But the men shook their heads, retreating toward the van. "Not tonight. He's not out of control. He's defending. We'll return with clearance." Karen's umbrella shook with her fury. "You'll regret this. All of you," she screamed, pointing at the jogger, the neighbors, even the retreating van. "That mutt will destroy everything." The van drove away, splashing water over her shoes. She stood frozen, teeth clenched, before storming off into the night. Rocky collapsed by the gate, soaked, shivering, exhausted. But something had changed. For the first time since his family's car disappeared, he wasn't just a forgotten stray. People had seen him, defended him, believed in him. The jogger returned the next morning with a bag of food. Rocky's nose twitched wildly at the scent of meat and grain. She crouched by the gate. "Here, boy. You earned this." He ate, slowly at first, then ravenously. His tail wagged faintly, almost uncertain. The woman smiled. "That's it. You're not alone anymore." From then on, she came daily. Fresh water, scraps of food, gentle words through the bars. Other neighbors began to help too, leaving bowls near the gate, watching from a distance. The whispers shifted. No longer that dangerous pit bull. Now it was the guardian dog. But Karen was not finished. One afternoon, Rocky caught her scent again. Perfume. Cigarettes. Anger. He lifted his head, ears pricked. She stood across the street, speaking harshly into her phone. "I don't care if I need lawyers. The house is mine, and the dog will be gone. Permanently." Her glare locked on him like a blade. Rocky's growl rolled from his chest. But this time, he wasn't trembling. He was stronger. Federal watched. Not alone. That night, under a crescent moon, Rocky sat tall by the gate. The house loomed dark behind him, but no longer hollow. He had filled it with his vow. The humiliation that once chained him had turned into purpose. The storm had not broken him. Hunger had not broken him. Karen had not broken him. And though she plotted harder than ever, Rocky's eyes gleamed in the moonlight with something she hadn't counted on: resilience. Because Karen thought she was fighting a stray dog. But what she was really fighting was a sentinel, forged in loneliness, sharpened by cruelty, and bound by loyalty. And this sentinel wasn't going anywhere. The police sirens split the morning silence, red and blue lights flashing across the quiet street. Rocky's ears shot up. His body stiffened by the gate, every muscle on edge. He didn't understand the wail of sirens, but he knew the energy of tension. Danger was near. Karen stood on her porch, arms crossed, pretending calm, but her lips trembled. She had been shouting on the phone earlier, pacing like a trapped cat. Now, the patrol cars stopped right outside the very house she had tried to claim. 2 officers stepped out. Behind them, a man in a suit, briefcase in hand. A detective. The neighbors spilled from their houses, whispering, drawn to the spectacle. Rocky stayed pressed to the gate, chest rumbling with a low growl. The detective called out, "Karen Willis?" Karen forced a smile. "Yes, officer." "What's the problem?" He unfolded papers from his briefcase. "We've received reports, fraudulent property dealings, falsified HOA documents, and harassment of residents. We're here to investigate." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Karen's mask cracked. "This is ridiculous."
Lies.
"I'm the HOA president. I protect this neighborhood." The jogger's voice cut through. She stepped forward, steady, resolute. "Protect it? You bullied Rocky's family until they left. You tried to starve this dog out just to seize the house. Murmurs of agreement spread among the neighbors. Some nodded. Others glared at Karen. Rocky's ears perked at the jogger's voice. His quiet ally had become his champion. Karen's face twisted. That mutt is dangerous. He attacked children, animal control, even. The detective raised a hand. We've interviewed multiple witnesses. Every report says the opposite. This dog scared off burglars. He's guarded this property faithfully. The only danger here is you. The words sliced sharper than any blade. Karen's composure shattered. You can't prove anything, but the officer stepped forward, holding up a folder. Actually, we can. Bank records. Forged signatures. Fraudulent sales. It's over, ma'am. Karen's knees buckled. She stumbled, clutching her clipboard like a shield, but it clattered to the pavement. No, no, this is my neighborhood. Mine. As officers moved to arrest her, she spun one last time toward the gate, eyes blazing with venom. This is your fault, she spat at Rocky. You ruined everything. Rocky didn't understand the words, but he understood her tone. Bitter, defeated. His only response was silence. He stood tall, chest out, golden eyes burning steady. The sentinel had won. The cuffs clicked shut. Karen screamed, but her voice was drowned by the sirens as she was led into the car. The neighbors didn't look away this time. Some clapped. Some shook their heads. But none defended her. The queen of the HOA was dethroned. The street fell quiet again, save for the hum of idling engines. Rocky slumped by the gate, exhausted but unbroken. His ribs still showed, his fur still matted, but in that moment, he looked larger than life. The dog who had stood alone and prevailed. The jogger knelt by the gate. Her hand pressed through the bars. You did it, boy. You really did it. Her eyes glistened. Rocky sniffed her hand, then pressed his muzzle into her palm. His tail thumped weakly, but surely against the concrete. The detective turned to the officers. What about the dog? The jogger stood. He has no one left. His family's gone. But he doesn't deserve to stay here alone. She looked down at Rocky. He deserves a new home, with someone who understands loyalty. The neighbors murmured in agreement. Some even smiled. The detective nodded. Then it settled. He's staying with you, ma'am, until the legal paperwork clears. The jogger's smile widened.
Come on, Rocky.
You've waited long enough. The gate creaked open. For the first time in weeks, Rocky stepped through, not chasing a car that abandoned him, but walking beside someone who had chosen him. His paws touched the street he had guarded so fiercely, but this time they carried him forward, not back. The neighbors watched as he left the gate behind. They would remember him not as a stray, not as a menace, but as the guardian who exposed the lies of Karen, the sentinel who held his ground when no one else could. The jogger led him down the street, her hand brushing his head. You're safe now. No more hunger. No more waiting. Rocky glanced back once. The gate stood tall, silent, the house behind it still empty. But in his chest, he knew, he had kept his promise. He had guarded it until justice came. And as the morning sun broke through the clouds, warming his fur, Rocky lifted his head high. He was no longer the abandoned dog, no longer the humiliated stray. He was the hero of the gate. A sentinel no more, but a survivor, a fighter, and finally, a loved companion once again.